Welcome back. We're here to preview Saturday afternoon's Premier League match between Crystal Palace and Manchester United. Barnes will start with the home side. Last time it was a big game against Leicester, two of the early good starters in the Premier League, but 1-0 to Leicester. How do you see it?
Yeah, it was a disappointing result and a disappointing game, I think. 1-0, everyone was predicting a lot of goals between two teams who have provided so many goals this season. I was personally predicting a Palace win 3-2 because Palace have been so good away from home this season and Leicester always liable to leak goals, but it's actually Leicester's first clean sheet of the season, which Palace should be really disappointed about. They've got the tools that could have really hurt Leicester, but it never really happened. It was quite an even game on the whole, a bit more boring than most people were expecting, only really decided by that one mistake by Brede Hangland giving the ball straight away, and then can't give Vardy a chance like that in the form he's in at the moment. It was such a good finish from Vardy as well, flicking the ball over the keeper. I actually remember Lionel Messi doing something similar to that against Arsenal a few seasons ago in the Champions League. So a great finish from Vardy to do that, but all in all, a disappointing game for Palace, disappointing result for Palace especially, and it's now back-to-back defeats after 3 wins in a row. So Pardew want to snap themselves out of that run. Obviously, it's not going to be easy against Manchester United, but they'll back themselves in most games. They just need to get out of this form.
Yeah, you've got the United game on Saturday. They face City in the League Cup in midweek, so they've got 2 Manchester clubs, then Liverpool after that in the next 3 games. So it's a big sort of run coming up for the club because that was a disappointing defeat to Leicester, and now they've got these 3 tough games. I know Liverpool aren't in the best of form, but you still probably back them there. So if they go on a bad run now, say lose all 3 of these, go out of the League Cup, say lose 2 more in the league, they sort of fall away a bit because it's been such a good start to the season. But one thing they don't want to do is fall away like that. They're still sitting 7th in the table, and certainly it's still been an excellent start to the season. That game against Leicester, I think everyone was expecting, like I say, goals in that one. The way Palace have been playing away from home, I think it was a real disappointment. But I think maybe Pardew might try and mix it up front. Maybe Dwight Gale was suspended for that game. He could come back here. They've got Connor Wickham who's close to returning as well. So maybe they need to just change something up front if they just lacked a bit of goals there. But I think certainly just looked like a bit of an off day for them. I think with the players they've got, the way they've been playing this season, I think you back them to come good again soon.
Yeah, but that run of form they've got against the big teams will be quite worrying for Pardew because we've been mentioning their away form all season, how good it is, but their home form's not too bad. Won 4 of their 7 home games this season, and the only teams they've lost to are Arsenal, Man City and West Ham. We know how good West Ham have been, particularly away from home. They've beaten some of the very biggest teams in the league already this season. So they're only losing really to teams who are very good on the road or the top teams. It'll be a worry coming up against Man City, Manchester United this weekend, and then Liverpool. They may not pick up too many points in that spell, which could undo a lot of their good work at the start of the season. But then after that, Sunderland and Newcastle, so things get a bit easier for them, and they'll be confident of at least bouncing back to form then.
They come up against United, who last weekend, it was the big Manchester derby. It was a big Sunday of football, wasn't it? And that was billed as sort of the headline act, but it really disappointed. It was such a poor game to watch back. There was very few chances. The first shot on target didn't arrive until late in the second half, I think, and both teams just looked so scared of losing. I think that was the case. In previous Manchester derbies in recent years, we've seen a lot of goals. But this one was certainly a case of, look, we don't want to lose this one. And I think for United, being at home like they were, I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity for them because if they had won, gone for it a bit more, they would have overtaken City, at the top of the table there. So it was a big game for them. A draw is certainly not the worst result. They're only 2 points behind them in the table, but the game itself, very few chances. Rooney had another really off day. The stats after the game really looked bad for him, and he really needs to put himself right soon because he's still the captain of the team. He's still, Van Gaal still sees him. He won't feel questions about him. He still sees him as a really important player, but the way he's playing just isn't good enough. The one only real moment to talk about in the game was the penalty appeal that United had when Herrera just sort of stuck his foot in front of Sterling, got there first, but he sort of put his foot across Sterling, and I think then Sterling, he couldn't really get out of the way, and it would have been really harsh to call it a penalty. I could have seen if it was given, but it would have been quite harsh, I think. But yeah, so not the best performance, but a draw, obviously not the worst result against your rivals because they don't get the 3 points, and you stay in touch with them.
Yeah, I think both would have been fairly content with a draw the way the match went. United, as you mentioned, probably had the better things of most of the game, but it keeps their run going of only lost 1 of their last 8 games, now drawn 2 in a row prior to tonight's League Cup match against Middlesbrough, which probably it's a big match for Van Gaal. A couple of the big boys, Chelsea and Arsenal, both went out on Tuesday night, so it's a good chance now for United to really to get a trophy under the belt for the first time since Fergie left. The last trophy was the Premier League title. Van Gaal, he could do with a bit of silver in his cabinet because there's been questions over the progress the team are actually making under him so far, particularly with the amount of money he's bought. You have to say their stats they're looking decent. We've questioned his defence quite a few times over his tenure, but he continually has a good record at the back. No team's conceded fewer in the Premier League so far. They are the lowest scorers in the top 6, and they need the likes of Rooney, you mentioned there, to really get firing because he just hasn't got going at all so far this season. Likes of Memphis, he's dropped out of the team lately. He hasn't been anywhere near the standard personally I thought he'd be. I thought he would come in and take the lead by storm. He's been better in the Champions League, but even then he's been dropped out of the team against CSKA Moscow recently. So they could do with those sorts of players. Martial's gone a little cold lately after a fantastic start. They could do with those players finding their form again in the final third.
It could be quite a good game. This, United, their record against Palace really good. Never lost to Palace in the league, and they've won the last 4 games against them. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, as I mentioned, Palace tend to lose against the big teams at home. So I can see United returning to winning ways with this one. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory.
2-1. Yeah, I think this one again, United probably start the game as slight favourites, but I'm backing Palace to just get a point in this one. Really wasn't impressed by United last weekend, and the way, like he talks about, Rooney's playing at the moment. He's going to start again because he's the captain, and I just see Palace getting a point. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. So we got one narrow United victory and a draw. Thanks for joining us.